discs. Even so, it didn't look entirely alien, or forged by some forgotten tribe. It could have been someone's art piece, found at a garage sale many decades ago. Its histories and origins now long obscured. But that strange totem wasn't the sight I found really frightening. Now, I don't think Mike and Jenna saw them before his phone light suddenly cut off, leaving them in the darkness. I can't confirm whether or not they're moving or just writhing in place, but on the walls of the security room is a spreading sea of long, solid black worms. I don't know how else to describe the things, but it's obvious in the few frames I get of them that they're no trick of the light or other optical illusion. Worms molding over the wall like they're devouring it. After rewatching the entire clip several times, I closed the video and tried to wrap my head around what I just saw. I almost dread finding out what happens next, and I delay myself from opening the next file by refilling my coffee. It's around midnight when I finally move on to a recording made around 3 hours after the last. File number 11. I open the file with no expectations, and it right away defies explanation. While the smattering of dead pixels lingers, it's as if the past trauma the couple just experienced isn't a thought in their minds. And at first, it's like they've gone to another location and put on some new clothes. Or rather, old clothes, because it looks like Mike pulled a wardrobe out of the late 80s and changed inside of a brightly lit dressing room, all in the span of a few hours. Mike stands smiling, though he has a nervous twitch. It's apparent in Jenna's camera work as well, because her shot now has a constant tremble. The device is no longer mounted, judging by the shakiness of the video. Hi, guys, Mike says after taking a deep breath. Well, you're never going to believe what happened to us. If we get out of this, we will, Jenna replies, though there's no confidence in her voice. Right. Well, it's just, it'll be better if I just show you. He gestures to a mirror in the dressing room, and Jenna walks up to it to show herself in the reflection. She now looks sharp in a bold red blazer and capri pants, and her hair is fanciful, styled up in a way that would take hours to achieve. But it's the camera itself that's even stranger. Holding it with two nervous hands, she brings it close to the mirror, and it's no longer a GoPro. It's not even a digital device anymore. It's now somehow a classic Polaroid, one of those old instant cameras. Yeah, weird, right? Mike continues. It doesn't have a screen on the back anymore, but it has buttons, and all the on-screen information is inside the viewfinder. I don't know why or how, but her clothes changed too. It's like, I don't know how to say it. Oh man, we're gonna get millions of views though. We're gonna be on talk shows and scientists will want to. Mike, can we just please get out of here? It's just way too confining. All right, yeah, let's just keep showing them. The two leave the dressing room and step out into a fully lit, packed Dillard's apartment store, just like the one Sleepy Pines used to have. But I haven't seen one so busy in many years. And as Mike and Jenna keep pretty quiet and give a tour of the place, I steadily realize why it seems so off. Like their clothes, those on all the shoppers and staff, and those waiting to be worn on the racks and shelves. Everything is dated. It's all fashion from around 30 years ago. Mike at one point even grabs a polo shirt and with a stupid smile on his face, brings its price tag right up to the camera, remarking about how it's so cheap. Do you get it yet? He asked the viewer. I mean, it should be obvious what happened to us, right? We didn't believe it ourselves at first, but... Oh, I'm sorry, man. He tells an older shopper he had bumped into, who only responds by turning around and giving Mike a curious look. "Come on, let's go see the mall. We haven't left this store yet. We needed some time to get over the shock first. I wish we had gotten some of that recorded. Jenna was crying. She was all hysterical." "Mike," she replies disdainfully, "you're taking all this way too lightly. How can you not be terrified of what's happening to us?" He frowns and admits, "Part of me is, baby, but we can't explore this place while only being scared and worried. We can at least get it all on record, in case something happens to us and the camera is all that's found." "Now don't say shit like that, Mike. I mean, none of this is normal." "Hey, come on, I'm right here. I'm with you. We'll get out of this." Jenna begins to cry, and the camera points down to the floor. Mike can be heard saying, "Let's talk," just before the clip ends. I go directly to the next one. File number 12. It's a few minutes later. The camera is now pointed toward the main thoroughfare of Sleepy Pines, past the Dillard's entrance. The shot lasts for about 30 seconds, during which dozens of shoppers walk by, many of them wordlessly glancing at the camera for a moment. Mike then walks into frame and guides Jenna out into the mall, though her movements show she's still reluctant. I pull myself in my chair closer to my monitor and watch intently. I hear something familiar and nostalgic come through my headphones. I turn on the noise canceling so that I could feel even more engrossed by what I'm experiencing. Mike doesn't even know what to say about the enormity of the situation as they approach their exit. I hadn't given myself time to process the previous clip, or how the look of the store could have been pulled off through some elaborate set dressing. The obvious but incredible answer to all of this still had yet to feel like a valid thought in my mind. Mike isn't the only one startled when a large woman suddenly enters the frame. 1 second, it felt like we had been exploring uncharted territory together, and the next, there's a big lady in a pantsuit threatening to spray him with a bottle of amber-colored perfume in a crystal bottle. "I told you, we don't need a sample, lady," Mike snaps at her. "Jesus. Oh, but this is our new fall scent. There's nothing else like it on the market. Just one whiff, and you two will fall in love all over again." She seems aggressive and keeps trying to spray Jenna and Mike as they shove their way past her. For about a second, her unsettling toothy smile fills up the frame as the camera itself nearly smacks into her. "What the hell's her problem?" Jenna asks once they're in the safety of the mall. "It could be like that." Mike sighs and looks up at the skylights. "Just maybe not as bad from what I remember." Crazy bitch. "You okay? She didn't spray you, right?" "Michael, what is this place?" Jenna asks and points the camera at the ceiling, revealing the blue sky beyond the horizontal planes. The camera settles back on Mike, and for several seconds, he grins in a way that's almost as settling as the perfume lady's smile. I can hear the tinny echoing music better as Jenna waits for her boyfriend to say something. It's genuine, traditional music. Those light, co-opted renditions of pop music that went out of style years ago, that's barely heard anywhere anymore. Somehow, fittingly, as Mike grins like an idiot, Toto's Africa fills the air. "Are you really gonna make me say it?" Mike asks. "There has to be some other explanation. I mean, this can't all be real." "Babe, we're in the past. We found some sort of time-traveling device. I'm telling you." He turns about and soaks in the mall, adding, "My guess, 1990, maybe 91. All of those 1980s styles are on the way out, and everything's so colorful. I'm talking post-Cold War chic, Jen. Then why did our clothes change? Why did the camera change? Where did our phones go? I mean, we need to make sure that there's a way out, or a way to go back, before we start trying to have fun. I don't want to be trapped here. We're not here to have fun. We're here to make history, maybe even be part of history. We're filming the past, babe. We'll document everything we see, and then we'll find that weird thing again and figure out how it could send us back to 2013. But it could stay a while, right? I mean, this decade is so much better than the one we came from. With all that social media bullshit and dumbass challenges. I wish you wouldn't say that. Our friends and family are there, Michael. Our future together. We can't stay. Mike sighs. He doesn't want another argument. He wants to explore what he thinks is the past. Some small piece of his childhood. The shot lasts another 10 seconds on his impatient face before the camera pans down. I get a look at Jen's shoes to see that they've turned into a pair of red high tops. File number 13. This clip goes on for over 10 minutes, and it's a proper mall tour. Jenna quietly films every store they pass without argument, while Mike tries to provide some commentary. But he's often distracted, overwhelmed by amazement every time he looks into a shop, or sees a person walk by in nostalgic clothing, or finds a treasured piece of media from the era. He forces Jenna to spend several minutes just in Sam Goody, so he can get every audio cassette, early CD, or videotape in at least a few frames of the video. All the while, Mike is overly excited and Jenna seems wary of the crowds. The shoppers almost approach an uncanny valley. They look like regular people, but they act like emotional automatons, staring vapidly at the two like they're intruders in their home. She notices them, as do I, but Mike hardly seems to consider whether or not something is off with anyone other than himself and his girlfriend. He's under the effects of a siren call brought about by his love for a romanticized past. They pass by a brightly lit hair salon with colorful geometric shapes on the walls and a checkerboard floor. The three women seated inside are all getting the exact same hairstyle. The small movie theater's marquee lists now playing Total Recall, Gremlins 2, Terminator 2, City Slickers, The Rocketeer, and ironically, Back to the Future Part 3. We see more mall store staples, many of which no longer exist anywhere. A KB Toys, a Walden Books, a merry-go-round filled with clothes for teenagers. I recognize most of the places, and sure, I miss seeing them if I think about it, but they all had their time, and I don't worship the past like Mike seems to. While it's certainly interesting to see all these old stores in modern high definition, dead pixels aside, I find myself just hoping the two make it out. Sleepy Pines looks very different overall. It has big blue, red, and yellow painted lines running along its wall. Neon lights cast their glow on indoor trees and lounge areas full of boxy chairs and couches. Coin-operated rides sit out front of the arcade, for the kids too young to venture in and play the cabinets that bright and noisy pixelated games inhabit. I can empathize with Mike, being a kid during this snapshot in time, wanting to go back and feel something genuine again, if he believes the present is shallow and hopeless. But that idealism isn't going to find either of these young adults a way out. All the while, the calm cheerfulness of the mall music undercuts the rising dread I begin to feel about a situation that I'm helpless to change. Wow, Mike says wistfully as they reach the Sears at the other end of the mall. It's great, Jen. What an experience. Hey, you got all that, right? Yes. Now, can we go back to the Lost and Found? We need to get that thing to send us back home. I wonder if the younger me will show up if we wait around. I don't think you appreciate all this enough. I mean, how often do you get to take your girlfriend to the freaking past and show them someplace that meant so much to you? After waiting for a response from her that doesn't come, he sighs, nods, and says, "All right, fine. Let's get a good shot of the mural on the way back." They head to the mall atrium, where Jenna lets the mural fill the frame. It's incomplete, and even creepier for it. 2/3 of the forest segment is done, but the 5 figures standing in front of it have yet to be painted, and are just a solid ghostly white. I didn't know that the whole thing wasn't finished all at once. It suggests that there might be something to my idea that the poorly drawn pioneers and natives were added by a second artist. Maybe even just an excuse to cover something up on the original background. "That's weird as hell," Mike says as he looks at the artwork. "We must have been brought back to one of the few days when the mural was still being made." Jenna grumbles and starts to pressure him to focus on getting themselves home, but is interrupted when mall security comes over and reminds them that the pair just can't shoot pictures in the mall without permission, unaware that their mutated camera is actually filming video. "Yeah, sure, no problem," Mike is heard saying that after the camera goes to Jenna's side and is pointed at the floor. "Hey, can we check your Lost and Found? We think we left something behind when we last..." The clip ends as abruptly as I come to expect. File number 14. The next file was created 4 hours later. I'm seriously concerned about what might have happened in the time in between before I open it. Mike and Jenna are staring at the camera together. They're back in one of the Dillard's changing rooms, where they might feel safe. The light flickers above them, and now they both look noticeably stressed. "Hey guys," Mike tries to find the words and wraps an arm around Jenna's shoulder. Well, so here's the part where we have to tell you that things aren't looking so good for us. I still don't know how or why we're in the past, and we can't find the thing that brought us here. We've looked all over, every store, every back room, every staff room you could think of. And it feels weird trying to sneak around, you know? People here are always looking at us. I don't think any of them have left either. They're all the same shoppers that were here when we arrived. Something's wrong with this place. I should have seen it earlier, but I was busy being too stupid about everything. The doors out are all locked," Jenna adds tearfully as she seems to come to terms with their situation. "We tried all of them and they don't budge. We picked up one of the payphones, but there's not even a dial tone. We're gonna have to tear this place apart if we have to. We'll find that thing, wherever it is, but just in case we don't make it out. And do you find these videos? Please call my parents. Their home number is..." "Mike, shh." Jenna suddenly shushes him. She points towards the edge of the frame, and Mike turns the camera around to show the gap at the bottom of the changing room door. After several seconds, a pair of large feet stuffed into high heels steps into the space. They turn towards the door, and it rattles violently. Jenna can be heard suppressing a scream. The door keeps shaking for about a full minute before the assault on it finally ends. Without saying a thing, the large woman on the other side walks off. As upset as she is, Jenna picks up the camera again, nearly dropping it as she films Mike cracking open the door and looking around. He gestures for her to come out, and they make an exit from the store by sneaking behind clothes racks and keeping quiet. The other shoppers look at them again, but don't bother them. Just before they can leave, Mike gets a shot of the perfume lady standing near the store entrance. I recognize the shoes and realize that she must be stalking the pair at this point. Without warning, she turns towards them, and they duck behind a display table full of polo shirts. I pause on a frame of her face and see how hideous she has become. Her bulbous face is covered in bright red lipstick, sky blue eyeshadow, and bright pink blush. But it all does nothing to help with the fact that she has greasy, disheveled hair and yellow, crooked teeth. After a few seconds, the camera pops back up. The perfume lady is gone. "Where is she?" Jenna whispers. "I don't know. We just have to get out of the store. We never should have come back in here. We knew the door would be locked just like the others. Mike, we have to..." Jenna is cut off by the sound of ruffling fabric. She and Mike both flip around to see the perfume lady staring right at them from the top of a clothes rack. She's slumped over some of those chrome bars, her blob-like arms dangling down like she's an obese sloth with a murderous glint in its eye. She curls her lips into a demented grin and holds up the perfume bottle seemingly glued to one of her hands. Mike and Jenna quickly work up the nerve to get on their feet and make a run for the store entrance. Judging by the sounds coming from behind them, their pursuer knocks over the entire rack and crashes into more displays as she gives chase. There are expletives, terror, and panic in Jenna's voice as she and Mike dash out towards the mall. She briefly turns the camera back to capture the crazed lady on film. She's becoming animalistic, running on all fours with eyes as black as sharks. Jenna lets out a shriek as the feral beast gains on them, but the perfume lady stops right at the boundary of the store, as if there is an invisible barrier she can't pass. After catching his breath, Mike flips her off, and the woman simply regains her composure, getting back on two legs and returning to the cosmetic department. The grin never leaving her face. "What the hell, Mike? She's not human. No person acts like that." Jenna shouts at him. "We need to get out of this place right goddamn now." "I know, Jen. I know. At least she can't leave the store." "Shit." Mike tries to calm himself down as the shoppers stare at him. Most of them now just standing around as if they're NPCs who had run out of walk cycles. He points the camera up at the skylight, revealing that it's dusk. The neon lights of the mall now determine the colors, splashing everything in hues of reds, purples, pinks, and blues. I can also hear that the music has slowed down and become distorted, like a talking electronic toy with low batteries. The audio seems to unnerve Mike, who closes his eyes to think, but can't get comfortable enough to do so. "It's like this place is starting to fall apart." He mutters out the same thought that had just crossed my mind. "Jen, we need to find something heavy. Hammers, crowbars, I don't know, maybe a trash can. We'll just smash our way out." He proceeds to shove his way past the crowd of zombie-like onlookers, yelling at them to get out of his way all the while. Jenna follows at a distance, getting a face full of their staring eyes on the way. They briefly stop near a display of a red 1990s Corvette, where a nearby small film crew seems to be trying to make a commercial. Hot lamps hit the sweating face of an older man in a gray suit. He repeats the line, "A lot is happening at Sleepy Pines Mall. Why not come see what's new today?" several times as Jenna also films the scene. Mike then loses his patience and enters the shop, but the attempt at making a commercial continues. "You've been here for hours," Mike tells the crew angrily. "Who are you people? How did you even get in here? What ad agency do you even work for?" "Michael, stop," Jenna quietly pleads. "Don't antagonize them. They're not even real. They're mindless, running on some kind of script." With no concern for consequences, Mike knocks over the lights and the expensive film camera, and then steals the tripod. Jenna doesn't know what to make of it, and she just stands in place in shock as Mike walks away with the bulky piece of equipment. And actually, Mike seems to have a point, because the actor simply keeps repeating the same segment of the commercial several more times with the crew watching and going through the motions. The camera pans to the floor, and the clip ends. File 15. It starts with Mike midway through another swing of the tripod against the glass door. He's been at it for a while, based on his apparent exhaustion. He lands the heavy metallic tripod plate against the glass doors several times, but has yet to crack it. The glass doesn't even seem to have any give to it. You might as well be hitting a brick wall. The vintage cars and trucks in the parking lot outside seem real, but I'm not so sure. There's no people outside in the darkness, yet the couple are trapped in the mall with hundreds of them. So everything beyond its walls may not even have reason to exist. Whatever time travel trickery is going on, it likely can't extend past the building in which it was triggered. Jenna can be heard quietly sobbing. She pans to a trash can on the floor, knocked over, and she gives it a kick, giving me the impression that she had used it to join in on the effort before she gave up and started filming again. I also noticed that the music is now completely gone, replaced by a monotone buzzing sound. Mike hits the door 12 times in all, working up a sweat and eventually, hopelessly, collapsing to the floor. The recording of this effort then ends. File 16. The camera sits on the table in the food court. It's getting late, but it looks like all the places are still open. The pair have cups of soda and slices of pizza on paper plates in front of them, but they both look hesitant to eat it. It isn't that they're only losing hope of escape, but they're also afraid of the food. Now, I can't blame them. They're also mostly in shadow, now lit only by neon lights. Are we going to really eat this? Mike asks, listlessly. I mean, who knows what it's made of? Jenna murmurs back. Well, we have to eat something. We're starving. Mike looks into the camera and says, tiredly, yeah, so the clocks here say it's 2 a.m, and things just keep on going. It's 24/7 mall now, I guess. Couldn't last much longer without eating or drinking something. If this is what ends us, at least you'll know it wasn't the perfume lady. And one of the few acts of bravery I've seen Mike exhibit across all the videos, he takes a sip from the cup before Jenna. Slowly at first, before gulping it down thirstily. She then does the same with her drink, and they soon look a little more confident about trying something solid next. Well, I mean, it does taste like Dr. Pepper, Mike says and examines his pizza. And it looks authentic enough, even though I don't think much of anything is real in this place. Okay, I guess, before it gets cold. He takes a bite, chews, and eventually swallows. Deciding it tastes edible enough and is worth the risk, he quickly gobbles up the rest, while Jenna remains more reluctant and takes her time with her food. It's too dark in here, she says, looking around. All the ceiling lights shut off hours ago, but the people didn't even seem to notice. Well, we'll try to get some sleep in the arcade, Mike tells her. All the games are still running. I think that's the most light we'll get. What's going to happen to this place? Maybe, eventually, the dream ends and we wake up. Even the guy at Sbarro didn't speak or ask us for any money. Yeah, Mike then deadpans a joke. No wonder the chain is dying off. They sit, drink, and eat quietly for another minute before the video ends. File 17. This one takes place entirely inside the mall's old arcade, which closed in 1998. The only sources of light are the flickering cabinet screens of games on their demonstration modes, but there are so many that the place remains the brightest locale of the mall at this point. Mike holds the camera this time, but I don't know what he's trying to archive, other than the miserable conditions the two have found themselves in. He makes a few rounds around the arcade cabinets, muttering incoherently to himself. Kids and teenagers fill the large room with a carpet featuring planets and stars, but none of them move. Some have their hands on joysticks or buttons, others just stand and stare with arms at their sides. Mike tries to elicit a response from one of the kids, getting the lens right up into their face. Their eyes are glazed over, looking straight ahead as the light of a fighting game reflects off their large pupils. They're just as catatonic as everyone else. Mike throws a swear at him before going over to the prize counter and getting a shot of all the toys he'll never be able to claim. "I went to a good university," he tells his audience of one, and turns the camera on himself so he could speak angrily directly into it. "I had a good job lined up, and I liked the 80s, the 90s. So what? Doesn't mean I want to be stuck in some shitty, bizarro version of nostalgia. I never want to visit a mall again. Camera battery should have died a long time ago, but the icon says it's still full. Nothing is right, everything is wrong. We're never getting out of here." Still filming, he goes over to one of those large cabinets that you could sit down inside for some privacy and immersion. It's an old racing game with a steering wheel, and Jenna's curled up on the seat, facing the wall, sleeping, or trying to. As this file was created 5 hours after the previous, I get the feeling that Mike couldn't sleep, or gave up trying. He decides to let Jenna be and slumps down onto the carpet. Several cabinet screens are in frame, the kids in front of them now lifeless silhouettes. Mike can be heard getting emotional for a few minutes over the noises of the games. Suddenly, he hears a loud metal clang outside, echoing down the mall's corridor. He jolts up and points the camera at the darkness outside that only the neon lights can penetrate. His breathing is shallow and rapid. Nothing shows up, at least that he can see, but he still ends up running into a small utility closet without alerting his girlfriend to a possible danger, and closes the door. Following another few seconds of a pure black image filled with digital noise and dead pixels, the video ends. I assume he eventually fell asleep in that cramped space, and that the experience was beginning to wear on his sanity by this point. File 18. The camera is aimed up at one of the skylights, where early morning light is coming through. It's possibly about 8 in the morning or so, meaning Mike and Jenna are nearing 24 hours spent in the mall. Mike pans down to show the mural and the fountain in front of it, where Jenna scoops up a handful of water and washes her face. Around her are the mindless shoppers, all of them still idle despite the fact the place seems to have never opened or closed. This version of Sleepy Pines, whether it really existed in the past or not, just is. Well, I've come to realize that it represents the memory of a mall, when people are there to remember it. Times where it is empty and dormant don't factor into this corrupt amalgam of its golden days of service. The speakers are still pushing out some sort of noise, but now all I could hear are atonal crackles. Mike approaches Jenna, leaning forward and staring at her reflection in the fountain. She looks at him as he draws near, now looking incapable of ever smiling again. I still worry about Mike's mental state, but she doesn't seem afraid of him. She's just tired or starting to resign herself to her imprisonment. "Jen, are you hungry?" Mike asks flatly. "The Cinnabon still seems to be running. Could get you something." She shakes her head and replies, "Mike, we need to find a way out today. Whatever it takes, we can't give up. We just can't." "I know. We'll try something else. I was thinking maybe the air vents." Jenna looks as though she's about to say something, but instead goes back to looking into the fountain. After several seconds, she takes on an inquisitive expression and leans forward. She stays in frame, but I get the impression that Mike's actually looking elsewhere while the camera remains pointed at her. Jenna takes out one of the coins from the fountain and studies it. I could barely hear her murmur, "Michael, look at this." Mike doesn't hear her and shouts, "Jen, run!" The camera swings around and I see the perfume lady aggressively approaching at a fast and unstoppable walking pace, the Dillards far behind her. It's the first time we've seen her leave the invisible boundary of the department store, and Mike and Jenna seemed shocked about this as well. The large woman still has a perfume bottle in one hand, but there's no telling what she really wants. Not ready to find out, the couple start running. File 19. An hour after the previous video ended, Jenna gets the camera going again to show Mike crouching down between some washing machines and peeking around the corner of one of the big white cubes. They're somewhere in the Sears store. "I think we finally lost her." Mike sighs and slumps against the machine. "Crazy bitch. Why is she the only one still moving around?" He shakes his head and looks up to see that the camera is recording. "Mike," Jenna says quietly, "there might be a way out or something." He grumbles back, "What are you talking about? Don't get your hopes up, but I found a... No, here, just take a look at this." She hands him a quarter and checks both sides of it. He looks at Jenna like she's crazy at first, but then realizes why she sees it as important. It's got the state art on the tail side. Well, that didn't start around 2000. Yeah, it's from 2005. I don't think the coins in the fountain were affected by any of this. Something to do with the water, maybe? That doesn't make sense. None of this does. Maybe there's something we could do with water. Whatever took us to this bizarre version of the past, maybe water is the answer, a way out. Mike frowns. So then what? Should we jump into the fountain, hold our breaths, and hope for the best? Or do you want to open up all the faucets in the mall and flood it? How does this big revelation help us? We have to keep trying, Michael, and we need to talk. We need to understand what had happened to us and what this place really is, why we're even here. I don't think we're really in the past. I mean, didn't you notice how early it got dark yesterday? There aren't any holiday decorations here, and all the fake people are dressed like it's summer. But the day didn't last any longer than it did before. Well, I mean, yeah, I guess. I think that device somehow recreated local history by altering all the nearby material. But it isn't perfect, and it can't sustain it for long. It's not stable. It's all breaking down, and I think we're running out of time. Jenna, it's insane. Well, have you any better theories? I mean, do you actually think that we went into the past? Mike takes on a rather vapid expression as he thinks for a few moments, before replying. And what's the deal with the perfume lady? I don't know. Maybe she's guarding the place. Maybe she's the thing keeping us here. She's hunting us. She's a threat. So I say, let's try to kill her. How? He asks, and rather stupidly in my opinion. We could start by trying. Why don't we just bash her over the head and see what happens? She's not real, Mike. I mean, none of these people are real. All right, yeah, fine. We'll smash her head in and see what comes out. He tries to act tough for his girlfriend, but he can't back it up. After he agrees to commit some sort of homicide, two hear a noise, and he panics just as much as she does when they see the silhouette of the perfume lady against the light of the Sears exit to the parking lot. Now, I'm not sure if she was just standing there looking menacing, or started chasing them again. The clip ends just as the couple start running. File number 20. With only 4 files left to view, I knew that Mike and Jenna's journey is coming to an end. This one opens with Mike holding the camera at himself, and behind him are boxes of shoes. He's at a Payless or a Foot Locker. He has a free arm wrapped around the camera tripod from earlier, which rests against his shoulder. He must consider it the best weapon he could find. We think it's been over 24 hours since this all started, he tells me. We're prepared to take on that perfume bitch now, mentally and physically. But we don't know where she is at the moment. But hey, you gotta see this. He gets up and goes to the store entrance, where Jenna is standing guard and looking into the hall. She's holding a metal bar in one hand, I think taken from a clothes rack, and a fire extinguisher in the other. Look at them, she murmurs. They're getting worse. Mike gets a little closer to one of the nearby kids, but still keeps a safe distance. Thick black ooze moving as slowly as hot tar is dripping out of the boy's mouth. Smaller streams of the stuff come out of his lifeless eyes. Mike pulls up and pans the camera to reveal that the surrounding adults are suffering from the same affliction. Still, they all do nothing but stand quietly. Jenna walks into the frame and says, "This is what I'm talking about, Mike. This place is falling apart. First, it'll be the more complex things, like the people. Then the rest of it will follow. The whole building. But not us, right?" Jenna doesn't have an answer, but there is doubt in her eyes. They move away from the store. Jenna's ready to strike with her crowbar. Everyone they pass is disintegrating from the inside out, but none of them are acting aggressively or move in the slightest. Mike points the camera up to the skylights, where a miasma of black specks is rising and beginning to smother the sunlight. As he pans back down, he catches on film one of the shoppers losing their arm. It simply breaks off and falls onto the floor, where it slowly melts into a pool of black liquid. At this point, they're out of curse words, and they just accept it. Even the movie theater's marquee has been corrupted, or is glitching, like a crashing computer program. The only 2 legible titles are Casablanca and Gone Girl, neither of which name out anywhere near the supposed emulated time period in which the 2 are trapped. The other spots on the marquee are jumbles of letters and numbers, and a pile of them is building up on the floor by the box office. Mike turns away and focuses on the fountain they're closing in on. The mural behind it has lost all of its elements and is now solid black. Jenna runs over to the water and looks down into it. She dips a hand in and then steps in fully, submerging herself just below her knees. "You really expect something to happen?" Mike asks as he catches up. "You're just getting soaked. It might be hard running in wet, squishy shoes, Jen. Maybe we don't have to run."
We want to take a storage component and a lot of items to get out one singularity. singularity. And I will show you how you can solve this problem. You need a matter condenser. You can see that you need some energy. That means you need some items which you put in your matter condenser. In my case, I use some cobblestone out of a creative energy cell, storage cell, but by mod packs you always have a lot of items out of cobblestone, dirt, or something else. You can also you can use upgrades, acceleration cards to increase the speed of matter condenser. You need one singularity. You need one ender pearl. your TNT, you need quantum entangled bridge. You need to put it in your AMI quantum link chamber like this, and you can also build up your quantum bridge like this, and each quantum and for one side of your quantum go second you can see in that in the second where we are creating the tutorials, you can see in that in the second which configured into 1000 blocks away bridge, and that's why you need to use something here.
Hello, well, so now we know how these terminals work. Obviously, TNT, which is very in there, why not? The bridge, you need power as well, so make sure both sides are powered. You'll know you'll have power when you've got these flashing dots on the sides here. If there's no sort of flashing dots, then you know you have not got power. Now, something that could happen to me, it could be a bug, I'm not too sure, but my very first quantum pair did not actually work when I put them through the bridges. So if you find that the first set doesn't work through the bridges, it's not connecting properly, make a second set. I know it's another 250,000 blocks you'll need to put inside your matter condenser, but a second set may work, because that's what worked for me. Very confusing. I made them both legit. I didn't just spawn them in, so I had that link, and I had that weird bug. So just try a different pair if the first... Hello world, and welcome back to another exciting... Hello world, and welcome back to another episode of Applied Energistics 2, where today we're going to be covering something a little bit more complicated and slightly more advanced. This is to do with P2P tunnels. P2P tunnels are a very simple thing. They're a way of getting items from one place to another place, but not just items, it could be many other different things such as energy, redstone, light, but the main thing people use it for are channels. To make P2P tunnels, you're first going to need some iron, some engineering processes, and some flux crystals, and you'll get one of these per craft. Now, in order for P2P tunnels to work, you need at least 2, although you can link them further. Now, as well as that, you're going to need a memory card. This is made with 2 pieces of iron, 2 gold, and a piece of redstone, and a calculation press, and this is going to be your way of actually linking which P2P tunnels are going to link to which other P2P tunnels, if that makes sense. Now here we've got basically a powered controller. Now we know every side of a controller can actually put out 32